I beg to move that this House do now adjourn.
The question is that this House do now adjourn. Jill Furness.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I am grateful for this opportunity to raise the plight of women with endometriosis and their everyday struggles they face in the workplace. Endometriosis was first identified in 1860, but progress in improving the lives of women suffering from it has moved at a glacial pace since then. As the Women and Equalities Select Committee so accurately puts it, women and girls are missing out on their education, career opportunities, relationships, social lives, and are having their fertility impacted because of the neglected reproductive health conditions. Madam Deputy Speaker, this debate focuses on the impact of endometriosis on women in the workplace. I chose this specific focus of attention because an examination of all the issues facing women with this condition would far exceed the time constraints of an adjournment debate. It would span an entire Parliament and more. This issue has been known... I'll give way.
Madam Deputy Speaker, can I commend Honourable Lady? This is a massive issue. A young girl came to my office, 16-year-old, who's been with me for almost 12 years. She got married on the first on New Year's Day. She had menopause at the age of 28 to try and help her endometriosis. Obviously, as a caring employer, I made sure she got all the days off and the time that she needed. But the point I wanted to make, not every workplace ensures that the people get the time off that they should. So does the Honourable Lady agree with me? When it comes to raising awareness, this debate tonight does that, but also I think it's a role for government to ensure that businesses understand their obligations and that there's training for those businesses as well when the time comes. Thank you so much.
Jill Furness.
Thank you for that. Women, the issue has been known for a long time. The Women's Health Strategy, published in 2022, painted the following picture of what workplaces should be like over the next 10 years. Women should feel able to speak openly about their health and to be confident that they will be supported by their employer and workplace colleagues, with an end to taboos. Women experience women's health issues such as period problems, endometriosis, fertility treatment, miscarriage and menopause, must feel well supported in their workplaces. This is a far cry from the reality facing women in the workplace today. Stigma and a lack of awareness from employers means that reproductive health conditions can have a significant effect on women's experiences at work. It is... I will give way.
Shelbrook.
I'm most grateful to the Honourable Lady for giving way, and actually, Madam Deputy Speaker, can I say it's fortuitous that you are in the chair tonight, because I know over the last Parliament all the work you did chairing the Women and Equalities Select Committee very much represented these issues that are being discussed tonight. I think the Honourable Lady was in the debates when I first did these in Westminster Hall last year. And I'm grateful that the Honourable Lady has secured this adjournment debate tonight, because a direct consequence of that debate I brought to Westminster Hall last time had Essex Police contact me saying, we are looking into doing this, can you give us advice on the workplace? So actually it's a great example of how this place, what the Honourable Lady secured tonight, is actually will have employers listening. And does she agree with me that education and sunlight actually will help a lot of employers make the right decisions moving forward?
Jill Furness.
Thank you for that intervention, and I absolutely agree with you, and I want to pay tribute to the Madam Deputy Speaker and to yourself for the efforts that you have put in over many years now, isn't it? Yeah. Thank you for that. Stigma and lack of awareness from employers means that reproductive health conditions can have a significant effect on women's experiences at work. It is almost impossible to remain at work when suffering from chronic pain and the mental toll that these conditions take. Many women...
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for giving way as well, and for the fantastic speech she's making. Endometriosis UK, who provide the Secretariat of the APPG, and endometriosis of which I am a chair, released a report last year which found that 47% of women had visited their GP 10 or more times with symptoms prior to diagnosis. Many of those women likely face issues with trying to get time off work or trying to attend these appointments, or experience some form of disciplinary action because of this. Does my honourable friend agree with me that critical to being an endometriosis-friendly employer is being understanding and tolerant of the number of appointments that are currently needed to secure a diagnosis, and ultimately that we need to take more steps to ensure it doesn't take several years and appointments to secure this diagnosis.
Thank you very much, and I will have to change that. It is now an average of 8 years, which is not good. Yeah, many women feel unable to speak openly about endometriosis as they would other conditions, like it is something to be ashamed of. Research shows that 23% of women take time off work because of period health issues, while 80% lie about the reasons for absence if they are related to periods. But having said that, it's not just periods endometriosis, it is a whole body complaint, and there have been I don't think there's an organ in the body that is up to the chest that has not been found in that process, which is quite a crippling disease. If you're very quick, yeah.
And I just want to build on what the Honourable Lady said there when we're talking about in the workplace, because there is often a big infection of the digestive system, and this can make many women incontinent to the point where they suddenly have to run. And I think this is very important when we're dealing about endometriosis in the workplace, because it's not just about appointments and time off, it's also about the conditions in which people are working and the understanding they need from their colleagues and bosses.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and you know it has got serious consequences of people, women may have to have a stoma because of the damage it's done to the bowels, or quite young women, which you and I have both met in the 20s, have had to have hysterectomies and would never be able to bear a child. Endometriosis should not mean that women have to put their careers on hold and leave the jobs they have worked hard to get. Employers can take simple steps like offering flexible working, access to period products and the time off to attend appointments to build the type of workplace envisioned in the Women's Health Strategy. I am pleased that this government has brought forward the Employment Rights Bill, the biggest boost to workers' rights in a generation, and I feel this is the perfect opportunity to begin to change the workplace experience of women with endometriosis.
Yeah, Alice MacDonald.
Thank you very much for this important debate. Endometriosis can have a knock-on effect on many other areas of a woman's life, as my honourable friend has mentioned, mental health. It can also have an impact on fertility. Yet at the moment, there is no statutory right to time off from work for fertility treatment, and indeed in many other scenarios. So does my honourable friend agree with me that we should welcome the support that employers do provide in this area and encourage others to do much more to support women who are going through endometriosis and so many other difficult conditions?
Jill Furness.
Completely agree with you. Thank you for that. Whilst the bill does require large employers to publish equality action plans, there is no specific mention of reproductive conditions. Therefore, I want to ask the Minister what discussions she is having with her colleagues in the Department of Business and Trade to ensure that these issues are not forgotten. Madam Deputy Speaker, what hope do we have for employers to understand this condition if even some medical professionals do not? All too often we have heard stories from women who have been told it's just a heavy period, to suck it up. Every woman goes through this. If you can be very quick. Yeah.
Atkinson.
Thank you. I met with women from the endometriosis support group in Derby, and so many reported that they'd had to give up work because of the symptoms that they had, but also the huge delays in their diagnosis and their treatment. Would my honourable friend agree with me that until we get real priority and understanding, we'll continue to lose out on the talents and the skills of women with endometriosis?
Absolutely, and I will be coming to that shortly. This leaves them feeling dismissed, ignored and belittled by the very people who should be helping them. The result of this is that it takes almost 9 years on average to get a diagnosis of endometriosis in the UK. I therefore look forward to hearing from the Minister. I've got to make progress, I'm sorry. The result of this is it's almost 9 years on average to get a diagnosis. I therefore look forward to hearing from the Minister on the steps she is taking to promote better awareness. I do not underestimate the task of the Ministers in fixing our NHS after it was left in tatters by the previous government. Waiting lists for gynaecological care have grown faster than any other speciality in recent years, leaving lots of women in agony. The Women's Health Strategy correctly identified some of these chronic issues, but in the absence of funding to back it up, we have gone further and further backwards. We need gynaecological conditions. For instance, women's health hubs have improved women's access to healthcare services, but the previous government failed to give them long-term certainty, and their funding is set to run out in March. As the government works hard to rebuild the NHS, improving gynaecological care must be at the centre of this. Women have waited long enough. Therefore, will the Minister update the House on how the government will implement the measures in the Women's Health Strategy? Also, Madam Deputy Speaker, we must continue to encourage research into endometriosis. Our world leaders, researchers, are doing vital work in clinical trials to find better ways to manage and treat this condition. I know they will not stop until they find a cure. Therefore, would the Minister outline what steps she is taking to support clinical research and ensure that women are able to get into these clinical trials? If we have a cure, it's fairly obvious that we will not have any of the problems I've already spoken about. I want to commend the Women Equality Select Committee, who my honourable friend is the chair. Oh, no, not my honourable friend, a different honourable friend. For their excellent report into women's reproductive health conditions. They have made a number of recommendations, including on employment rights. I look forward to reading the government's response. I do hope they will listen to calls to give specific mention to reproductive health as part of the Employment Rights Bill, which has cross-party support. I also want to give praise to Endometriosis UK for their invaluable work in supporting women with this condition and campaigning for change. They act as the Secretariat for the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Endometriosis, of which I am an officer. For many years, this group... Very quickly.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I'd like to thank my honourable friend for giving way and for bringing forward this absolutely critical debate. With an average of 8+ years for a diagnosis, does my honourable friend agree with me that employers must build a more supportive and flexible approach which embeds policies to help women like the Endo Friendly Employer Scheme, and join me in thanking campaigners like the Endo Warriors West Lothian for their tireless awareness-raising efforts?
Thank you for that. Absolutely right. That's really what we're talking about, I think, tonight, isn't it? Many years, this group was chaired by our dear friend David Amis. David campaigned tirelessly for improvements to endometriosis care, and I know he will forever remain on our minds as we continue his legacy. Thank you.
Minister, Karin Smyth.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And can I also congratulate my honourable friend, the member for Sheffield, Brightside and Hillsborough, on securing this important debate on the impact of endometriosis on women in the workplace. I supported the work of the APPG in opposition, and I absolutely echo her phrase and others for the work of Endometriosis UK in their work in campaigning the support that you, Madam Deputy Chair, and others in the Chamber tonight have given to the all-party group. And of course we also remember our friend David Amis in that work. I also echo the recognition for the recent report by the Women and Equalities Committee on Reproductive Health Conditions. My department is working across government on our response, which will be published in due course. I welcome the progress being made on raising awareness. We are moving very fast on this and providing better support for women's health conditions, including endometriosis. Nevertheless, this government recognises that women with endometriosis have been failed for far too long, and we acknowledge the impact it has on women's lives, relationships and participation in education and the workforce. There is still much more work to be done. We are committed to improving support for any women and girls whose periods or women's conditions disrupt their normal life, work or education. And in addition to receiving support in the workplace, all women should have access to healthcare support to help diagnose and manage this condition, and we are making progress to ensure that those with endometriosis receive a timely diagnosis and effective treatment. I will, but I'm conscious of time, so
I'm immensely grateful to the Honourable Lady for giving way. Indeed, there's been a lot of cross-party work on this. And I think it was literally the last debate before the general election was called. I led the debate on endometriosis education. And the key thing about that was that it's not prescribed enough in schools to actually educate about what a bad period is. And I always said, I still meet women today who were born in this century who don't know what it is. And if you don't know what a disease is, how do you know you've got it? So could I urge the Minister, the Honourable Lady, to make sure that those messages are pushed into the Education Department as well? Because as she's quite rightly said, it affects education, but you've also got to make sure people know what diseases they could potentially have.
I thank him for that point, and I will talk about that later in my comments. With regard to the Employment Rights Bill, Our plan to make work pay sets out a significant and ambitious agenda to ensure workplace rights are fit for a modern economy, empower working people and contribute to economic growth. On the 10th of October, the Government fulfilled its manifesto commitment to bring forward legislation within 100 days of entering office by introducing the Employment Rights Bill. And as part of that bill, we are taking the first steps towards requiring employers to publish action plans alongside their gender pay gap figures. The current clause sets out that regulations may require employers to develop and publish action plans relating to gender equality, which include measures to address the gender pay gap and support employees going through the menopause. It deliberately does not provide an exhaustive list of matters related to gender equality, giving us the scope to be led by the actions themselves. This reflects the fact that many of the actions employers take will be beneficial for people in lots of different circumstances. For example, improved provision of flexible working can be valuable for an employee balancing childcare, as well as someone managing a health condition, such as endometriosis. In the same way, ensuring that employers support staff going through the menopause will necessitate them taking steps which are positive for supporting women's health in the workplace more broadly. For example, menopause best practice includes greater discussion around women's health and awareness of potential workplace adjustments, things which have had much wider potential benefit. And as the Honourable Lady said, we start to reduce that stigma and those taboos. We need to remove them from our debate. But through the Employment Rights Bill, the Government is also making statutory sick pay payable from the first day of sickness absence. This measure will particularly benefit those who suffer from conditions such as endometriosis, who may need to take time off to manage a flare-up. We're also removing the lower earnings limit, extending statutory sick pay up to 1.3 million additional low-paid employees, particularly benefiting women, young people and those in part-time work. My honourable friend, the member for Llanelli, leads for the Government in terms of the bill from the Equalities team, and I can assure my honourable friend, the member for Sheffield, Brightside and Hillsborough, that both through working with her, we are talking across government on this issue. And, for example, I regularly join the Women and Equalities team at questions here in the Chamber to make sure that we do work closely together, and I will continue to work closely with these colleagues on these issues. With regards to existing workplace support, the new measures that we are seeking to introduce build on existing government support to employers, which recognise their key role in increasing employment opportunities and supporting disabled people and people with health conditions to thrive as part of the workforce. The Government's current offer to employers includes a digital information service which provides tailored guidance to businesses to support employees to remain in work. This includes guidance on health disclosures and having conversations about health, plus guidance on legal obligations, including statutory sick pay and making reasonable adjustments. The service is available across Britain and can currently be accessed from a range of trusted locations, including both the Health and Safety Executive and ACAS websites. We're also taking steps to better understand the challenges faced by women with endometriosis in the workplace and improve workplace support for this condition. The Government's Health and Wellbeing Fund has awarded almost £2 million to 16 voluntary community and social enterprise organisations leading projects focused on supporting women who experience reproductive health issues to remain in or return to the workplace, including a project on endometriosis which is delivered by Endometriosis UK. An Office for National Statistics study is investigating the impact of endometriosis on women's labour market outcomes. This important study will be a vital step to improving our understanding and will inform future actions policy work. The first publication in this research project on the characteristics of women diagnosed with endometriosis in England, 2011 to 2021, was published in December. In addition to providing workplace support for endometriosis, the Government is committed to improving healthcare support and ensuring women with endometriosis can receive timely diagnosis and treatment. We recognise that patients have been let down for too long while they wait for the care they need. Nearly 600,000 women are on gynaecology waiting lists. It is unacceptable that patients are waiting too long to get the care they need. And I thank her for her comments, her sympathy perhaps with the task of reducing those lists, but that is our absolute priority. And cutting waiting lists, including for gynaecology, is a key part of our health mission and a top priority for this Government. We have committed to achieving the NHS constitutional standard that 92% of patients should wait no longer than 18 weeks from referral to treatment by the end of this Parliament, and that absolutely includes those waiting for gynaecology treatment. Now, my right honourable friend, the Minister for Patient Safety, Women's Health and Mental Health, and I recently met with the Government's Women's Health Ambassador, Professor Dame Leslie Regan, and NHS England to discuss progress on women's health and current issues, including on gynaecology waiting lists. Following that meeting, I'm pleased that our recently published plan for reforming elective care sets out commitments specifically in gynaecology to support the delivery of innovative models offering patients care closer to home and piloting gynaecology pathways in community diagnostic centres for patients with postmenopausal bleeding. Enabling access to adequate healthcare support begins with providing high-quality education and information on menstrual health, as the Honourable Gentleman highlighted, so that women and girls know when and how to seek help for symptoms such as heavy or painful periods. The compulsory aspect of the curriculum for relationship, sex and health education means all pupils are taught about several areas of women's health, including menstruation, contraception, fertility, pregnancy and menopause. The Secretary of State for Education, the Right Honourable Member for Houghton and Sundon South, has committed to providing teachers with clear guidance that focuses on the well-being of children, and her department will look carefully at all relevant evidence as well as engaging with stakeholders, including young people and parents, ahead of publishing a consultation response and the revised guidance later this year. I'm also pleased that Dame Leslie Regan, as in her role as Women's Health Ambassador, has been feeding women's health perspectives into this work. My department has also worked with NHS England to improve and create new content on endometriosis symptoms, diagnosis and treatment options on the NHS website and YouTube channel. NHS England has also published a decision support tool for managing heavy periods to support women's understanding of their symptoms and appropriate treatment options to discuss with clinicians. Education and clinical guidelines support healthcare professionals to provide care for women with endometriosis. The General Medical Council has introduced the medical licensing assessment for most incoming doctors, including all medical students graduating from academic year 24-25 and onwards. This content for the assessment includes several topics relating to women's health, including menstrual problems and endometriosis, and this will encourage a better understanding, which we all want to see, of common women's health problems among all doctors as they start their careers in the UK. Endometriosis is also already in the core curriculum for trainee GPs and trainee obstetricians and gynaecologists. And last year, the National Health Institute for Health and Care Excellence, NICE, published updated guidelines on diagnosis and treatment of endometriosis. The new and updated recommendations on referral and investigation should help women receive a diagnosis more quickly. The department, through the National Institute of Health and Care Research, has also commissioned a number of studies focused on endometriosis diagnosis and treatment and patient experience. And finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, in closing, I really want to thank my honourable friend, the member for Sheffield, Brightside and Hillsborough, for tabling this debate and for her continued long-standing advocacy for women's health. Let me affirm the Government's commitment to supporting the many women who live with endometriosis in the workplace and beyond. This Government is committed to prioritising women's health as we build an NHS fit for the future. My noble friend Baroness Merrin is carefully considering how we take forward the Women's Health Strategy by aligning it to the Government's missions and forthcoming 10-year health plan. And women's equality will be at the heart of our missions. It is vital that we work with women to better understand their experiences and address their concerns, which have been ignored for far too long.
The question is that this House do now adjourn. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Order, order.